And welcome to Center for Spiritual Living, Leesburg. My name is Ann Gallagher. We are so glad you've joined us here today. Our theme for 2023 is Living Out Loud, and this month our focus is playing with paradox. Today's message is getting comfortable with discomfort, and it will be given by our fantastic guest speaker, Reverend Raymond Anderson.
Join us as we create our sacred space. We set our intention of deepening into our awareness and practice of our 5 pillars of spiritual living by lighting this candle in our virtual world. Our first pillar is sacred study, represented by the divine quality of truth. We use this pillar to recognize the importance of an open mind and the power of our minds. The second pillar is affirmative prayer, represented by the divine quality power. This pillar honors the power of prayer in our daily lives. This pillar reminds us of the importance of meditation and the peace we feel when we quiet our minds. The fourth pillar is circulation and the divine quality of life. We know that the great law of circulation works in our lives. So shall we receive the sacred service and the divine quality of love. This pillar affirms our call to be a service to our world as we see through the eyes of love. Let us close our eyes as we bless this sacred space and our time together. As we weave each of these pillars of spiritual living into our service today, may they deepen our own spiritual practices of study, prayer, meditation, circulation, and service, expanding our minds and our hearts to the 5 divine qualities of truth, life, and love. We also bless everyone who made our service possible today and everyone in attendance. May the energy of love that is generated here bless everyone abundantly, and so it is.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
Anderson is an ordained. Oh, start again.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay.
All right.
Today's special guest speaker, Reverend Dr. Raymond Anderson, is an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister and serves as the founding minister and the spiritual director of the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, which is a CSL teaching center. In addition to his ministry work, he teaches workshops related to radical self-care, living with purpose, inclusion, diversity, LGBTQ spiritual empowerment, creativity, and more. Welcome, Reverend Raymond, and the meditation for today.
So we begin with the breath. Simply anchoring and grounding into this thing that we call respiration. Being mindful and being aware that we need not try to rebreathe yesterday's breath. We need not try to pre-breathe tomorrow's breath, because simply we can't. We can only breathe this divine breath right here and right now. And ultimately, what we are recognizing with this breath is that the infinite breather, that which we call by many names, God, Source, Spirit, the thing itself, that it is breathing this breath. And not simply that it is breathing us, but that it is breathing itself as us. Because there is no separation between what it is and what we are, because it is all there is. So this divine breath is God breathing itself, the universe breathing itself. This inhalation in this present moment, anchoring us and grounding us. This divine exhalation, which is surrendered and released. And this practice of respiration reminds us to receive and to let go. Respiration includes both the inhale and the exhale. Life includes both the receptivity and the releasing of whatever is time to be released. We don't have to force the breath to surrender and release. It knows it's time to be released. And so we bring this application to all other areas of our lives. We receive the love and the joy, and we release the trauma, the baggage. We release what no longer serves us. And so we center in and ground into the idea of both and, the paradox of being comfortable with discomfort. Just like a runner who is on a marathon, the breath becomes uncomfortable. And yet, the more they run, the more they train, the more they practice, the breath becomes controlled, synchronized. And though there is discomfort in the process, they are comfortable because of the outcome. So we surrender, we receive, we inhale, we exhale, we align with the infinite power that is, as it incarnates in, through, and as us. Breathe. And with this next breath, we breathe in something that Ernest Holmes said: whatever is true about God is true about you. Breathe. Whatever is true about God is true about you. Breathe. And as we prepare to come out of meditation, we understand that entering into this state of meditation is as simple as take the breath in, let the breath out. At any moment, at any time, breathe. Breathe. And so it is.
I see you, I hear you, I feel you. And though I can't claim to understand, I can stand still and reach out my hand and try to feel you. I feel you. I feel you. I see you. I feel your tears fall from the same source as my own. What a mystery. And though I can't claim understand. I am listening. I can stand to the sound. Reach out your heart to the words of your song. I'm trying to feel you. I feel you. I see you're stronger than our pain. We are greater than our fear. Though I can't break understanding of each other, I can stand, reach out my hand. We are stronger than our pain. We are greater than our fear. We are leaders of each other, and we choose where we stand. Don't you let your pain and fear break you down. Don't you let your pain and anger steal your pride. We are your pain, leaders of your fear. We choose who we are. You can stand for peace and justice to unity. You can stand for creating what's never been seen. You take this time, reach out where you are. We choose where we stand. And we choose where we stand. And we choose where we stand. I feel you.
So let us breathe. Let's let the vibration of that amazing music wash over us as we feel gratitude for everybody who's present, everybody who's watching on YouTube or wherever they are joining in, because, we're getting ready to, I hope y'all ready, because we get ready to go into the realm of the uncomfortable. So are you ready? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen in a second, but simply anchoring in, because I'm anchored into the gratitude of being present with you all. Thank you, Reverend Charlene, for the invitation. Thank you, Anne, for guiding us in and introducing. Thank everybody here at Leesburg Center for Spiritual Living for your presence and your consciousness in the world, because you are doing great work, and I'm grateful. So, being comfortable or getting comfortable with discomfort. So, in order for us to really, really fully engage in this process of healing, evolving, transforming, both individually and collectively, we have to practice this thing called conscious awareness, while also remaining open at the top, which is a phrase we're familiar with. But I also add open at the bottom. You'll get more about that in a moment. And we have to engage in practicing alternative perspectives, alternative methods, alternative ways of engaging. Think of MacGyver. We're familiar with MacGyver. MacGyver is real quick to be able to take like a paper clip and, using an alternative method, turn it into an automobile to be able to escape the bad guys. We want to be able to step into this paradox of, wait a minute, either or, no, both and, because we are part of this infinite consciousness that is ever evolving, ever expanding. So once we are aware and we're open at the top, open at the bottom, we're engaging in the practice of alternative perspectives, alternative methods, then we are able to actively engage. We are able to move forward with the actions, treat and move our feet, the actions that encourage a life-affirming way of showing up, life-affirming mental equivalent, thoughts, words, emotions, and feelings and actions that are life affirming. Now, one reason I say life affirming, speaking of the paradox, oftentimes we refer to the negative as the bad. It is vilified, as is the darkness or the shadow. And yet, they aren't. And we're going to get into that in a moment, but yin yang, the darkness, the feminine, the negative is a necessary energy in the scope of balance. So rather than use the phrase negative, I use the phrase, is it life affirming or is it non-life affirming or life denying? Is the manner in which we are showing up, is it life affirming? Are we engaged in a mental equivalent that is life affirming? And not just individually, but collectively. Because therein lies the thing. It has to be both and. Is my life working for me? Is my life life affirming for me? Is my life moving forward in a way that is progressive and supportive? Okay, cool. But as Maya Angelou said, when you have healing for yourself, your next task is to bring it to others. So both and, individually and collectively. That's the only way we're going to manifest a world that works for all. So now let me share as we continue into the realm of homework. So, what causes you to feel discomfort in all of these areas? Pause and reflect. What causes me to feel intellectual discomfort? What about emotional discomfort? Are there things that in our culture and society that when I hear about them or hear someone talking about them, I feel discomfort? When people talk about war that is happening today, does it make me feel uncomfortable? Because ultimately, if it makes me feel uncomfortable, now we're not saying get comfortable with what's going on. We're saying do not try to bypass your discomfort. It is there to show you that there is an action, there is a prayer, there is a meditation, there is a something that we are invited to engage in. Because all too often even within New Thought, God is all there is and God is good and that means everything is good. No, war is not good. So how do we make it so that the collective consciousness heals to such a degree that the next generation is reading in the history books about Nana? Remember way back when, in the year 2023, when there was a thing called war, and how the people of that era evolved in their consciousness to such a degree that war became extinct? But we can't do that if we bypass or deny the things that make us feel uncomfortable. R.D. Laing says, pain in this life is not avoidable, but the pain that we create by avoiding pain, that pain is avoidable. So think about the courageous conversations that we won't have with family or friends, which then turns into, well, why didn't you just tell me that last week? Why are you still holding on to something that happened to us when we were in kindergarten? We're 57 years old now. You've been holding on to that for 52 years? Well, I didn't know how to bring it up. We create oftentimes the very thing we desire to be rid of. Now, here's a phrase we've heard very often: no pain, no gain. And I understand the general idea of where it's coming from. You want to be buff, you want those muscles, well, you got to do push-ups and you're going to get sore. I understand. And yet, there is a paradigm that says suffering is necessary. Having come from a former Judeo-Christian background, it is said often that the deepest suffering is how God teaches us the deepest lessons. Say what now? because New Thought is rooted in Christianity, which is why there is so much quoting of the Bible by Emma Curtis Hopkins, by Dr. Holmes. We're rooted in, now we make, yes, there is Hinduism and Vedanta. Yeah, there are a lot of yes, and yet. So now the idea is, how do we decolonize? Because when New Thought promotes this paradigm that suffering is necessary, that there is a cosmic 2x4 that is going to upside the head if you don't learn the lesson, that there is, well, the only reason, check the words, the only reason you keep going through that is because spirit wants you to learn. Well, wait a minute, you just anthropomorphized spirit. You realize that? And if you're anthropomorphizing spirit, you don't have to call it God, but you're still anthropomorphizing it, and it wants me to learn something, which makes a separation between it and me. When Dr. Holmes reminds us there is only God and it is incarnating as us. He says the only God that any of us will truly understand and have an intimate relationship with is the one that we embody. The one that we embody, it is us. So anytime we engage in this idea of we have to learn through hard lessons, the reason war is happening is to teach us something. No, the transatlantic slave trade did not happen to teach us anything. There are no redeeming qualities in that. The Holocaust was not to teach a lesson. Other than, if we're going to say there was a lesson, other than the lesson of, wow, the law really does work for anyone who is using it. So let's get more anchored and grounded in how we are choosing to use it. Breathe. I told y'all strap in and be ready. So remember this idea of polarity. And like I said before, we often vilify the negative, and yet that red dot in the center of a water molecule is the negative charge. If we remove the negative charge, we have what now? We don't have water. The negative is necessary. The negative and the positive, action, reaction, response, the masculine, the feminine, darkness and light, they are all aspects of the divine. And when we vilify, when we try to cast out, because we're being really vague. Now, imagine that Ann and I are having a conversation, and Ann says to me, "Hey, Ray, how are you today?" And I say, "Eh." And Ann says, "What? I don't know exactly what he means when he says "eh." Like, what is that? Does it comme ci, comme ça? So? Like, I don't know what that means. So, Ray, can you share with me exactly how you are feeling? I'm okay. Now, see, what he did first was, now it's okay. That's vague, and it means he's trying to sidestep because he either doesn't know how to express to me how he's feeling, or he doesn't want to express. So I'm going to be present and listen actively and consciously to encourage him to share. And Anne gets silent and simply present, drinks her tea, and then as I feel more, so Anne, you know how you asked me how I was feeling? Well, today I'm feeling a little depressed. Oh, tell me more. Well, see, I didn't feel like I could tell you that because within New Thought, I feel like I get shamed when I share that I'm not happy all the time and good all the time, because even within New Thought, we do shame folks. You know how I know that we still do it? Because when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer last year, I had at least 5 ministers and 7 practitioners in our movement send me a message, a text, an email, or something asking me what was in my consciousness that created it. Say what now? Oh, so I invite us to move into a completely new energy of one with great clarity. Now, being clear on what we feel, being clear on what we desire, being clear on what is a world that works for all. What does that even mean? Because we say it a lot and I'm not really sure what it means. What does it look like? What are the steps? Like if you say toilet, I already have a concept in my head from either Home Depot or something. Like I already have an idea in my head of what a toilet is. Even if it's a porta potty, I have an idea in my head. You say a world that works for all, it just feels so airy fairy and fluff and cotton candy like. I don't know what that means. So let's get clear on what that means. How many of us have had a family member, growing up? Hey, mom, what's for dinner? Food. What? Like, can you tell me what flavors? We are invited into having greater clarity. And in order to be very clear, sometimes it means being uncomfortable. Dr. Holmes reminds us to keep our minds in a state of good-natured flexibility, being flexible, being life-affirming, being open at the top and open at the bottom, which means whenever we face issues in our culture and society, let's have the conversations. Let's talk about what it means to create greater equity, greater justice, what it means to truly create a world that works for all. Elie Wiesel says, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And when we shame one another within New Thought, we are, in essence, Reverend Charlene, I know you said this, but I'm not really interested in that. That's not love. Aaron, when you said X, Y, and Z, I know I was a little nonchalant about it. That's not love. So we're invited, if we really want to create a world that works for all, let's check in and ask, am I disinterested in trans equity and rights? Do I have an apathy towards African Americans and this thing called racism? Well, it doesn't affect me. Do I have some kind of disregard for, the explosions are there and they're not shaking my house? Because if we're not going to truly become interested and become invested in shifting the collective consciousness, then we can't say that we are a loving movement. We can't say that we, as individuals and expressions of God, that we can't say it because we're not showing it. We're not demonstrating it, because what we are demonstrating is a form of neutrality. And I know it makes us uncomfortable to think about privilege, straight privilege, white privilege, whatever, economic privilege. See, there are all kinds of privilege. And it makes us uncomfortable because, I don't know what to do. How do I? We are in. Dr. Holmes said in the Sermon by the Sea, I am not religious science, you are. So let's get anchored and grounded in, what can I do? Can I pray? Yes, then pray. Can I engage in groups where we lift it? Yes, whatever it is you are called to do, as long as you are doing it, then you're doing it. Rather than, I'm going to close the door. I know that my neighbor is probably abusing their children, but I'm going to close the curtains because I don't want to get involved. That's not my business. Yes, it is your business. As Emmett Till's mother once said, I was comfortable living in my apartment in Chicago, and I thought that whatever happened to the Negroes down south was their business. It didn't affect me till they killed my son, and I realized that the business of any of us anywhere had better be the business of all of us everywhere. It's the only way we are going to shift our consciousness and evolve into a world that works for all. Now, how many of us, when we visit our physicians, we don't tell them everything? We keep a secret from our own doctors. I don't want to, she told me to take my prescription and I'm not taking it. So rather than be honest. Dr. Dan, I know you prescribed this medication for me and I haven't been taking it. And then let Dr. Daniel say, I hear you, Ray, and this is my recommendation. How do we then step into truly what it means to heal? Breathe. Dr. Holmes reminds us, keep the doorway of your mind open, feeling, thinking, communing with this life. Know that it fills you with light and with power. And for me, know that it fills you with balance. Know that it fills you with the balance of light and darkness, yin and yang. And with that, there is power. So our invitation, as I said before, is to be open at the top and open at the bottom. A tree pulls light from and through the leaves and through the roots. We are invited to do the same. Pull from both and rather than either or. Breathe. There is perfect coordination in every part of my being because the spirit of perfection is acting in and through me. Yes. However, what if it's not what you're feeling? Can it be both and? Can I affirm and declare this as my truth while also recognizing I don't feel it today? Yes. Because the only way to move through effective healing is to recognize and give voice to the truth of what we feel. I know that I am an individualized expression of God, no matter if I feel depressed today, if I feel angry today, if I feel disconnected from source today. Are we not connected? None of us are in the same room with one another right now. And yet, are we not connected through this thing called internet? Through this thing called Zoom? Well, if I can understand that we are connected, even though not face to face in person, then can I not also recognize that even at times when I do not feel connected to the divine, that I am still connected? Because even when we log out of this, internet still exists. Zoom still exists, even when we are not directly connected through it. So how do we move into a space of being the healing presence for our own lives and the collective? Self-awareness, right? Being aware, conscious choice. What am I choosing? My mental equivalent, and being courageous in how we show up. Because when we see something like this, the either or says, is it a symbol of pride or a symbol of terror? And yet this gentleman, who you may not know, this gentleman sees a third way. Because for over 30 years, Daryl Davis has made it his mission to engage in the courageous conversations with Klansmen, who then become his friends and surrender their robes to him. Can you imagine being such a healing presence that a Black man can have a conversation with a hooded Klansman and change their heart to such a degree that they relinquish the paradigm of racism as a Klansman? The only way this is possible is by stepping into the discomfort, because things are going to come up in those conversations. Are we willing to be uncomfortable? Breathe. So when you look at a seed, are you able to see all aspects of it at the same time? Meaning, do you see the seed as well as the apple, as well as the tree that the apple comes from, as well as the orchard, all in one viewing? In the same way, when you see one individual person, a group of people, a mass of people, the world of people, are you able to still see God? Because the reason Daryl Davis can have those conversations is because he is able to see God. Breathe. Now, I invite you to screen capture this because I'm getting ready to close in prayer, but I invite you to screen capture this and have a conversation with someone where you are answering these questions, just to begin to have those uncomfortable, clarifying discussions that elevate and evolve our lives. Now, if you are ready, let's anchor and ground in this thing that we refer to as spiritual mind treatment. Simply anchoring into this breath, the same breath that was being breathed even before we breathed in the meditation. It was the same breath that was being breathed while we slept. This breath, this infinite breath, we anchor and ground and center, recognizing the isness and allness of God, the isness and allness of Source, with such conviction that we begin at the end. We begin with the, and so it is. And so it is that I am healthy, and what is true for me is true for everybody joining right now via Zoom. Amen. Truly, that which is love is incarnating itself in, through, and as each and every one of us. It is so that which we call God, the thing itself, is all there is. And that what is true about it is true about each of us. Then the infinite wisdom is right here present. The infinite creativity right here present. The infinite ability to change the very fabric of creation is present right here and right now. Amen. Amen, that we anchor and ground in this thing called community, which is about relationship building. And as we build relationships with ourselves, with one another, ultimately what we are doing is building relationship with the divine, as the divine, with the divine, for the divine, through the divine. For there is only that which it is. And we breathe. We breathe with gratitude. We breathe with joy. We breathe with a conviction that says, I am willing to be uncomfortable in order to shift the collective consciousness. I am willing to be uncomfortable to heal what needs to be healed, in the same way that if I break a bone and I go to the doctor, they have to reset it. There is discomfort. There may even be pain. But if I know that the ultimate thing is mobility, then I accept. I breathe. Joy, gratitude. I breathe knowing that this moment right here is transformative. This moment right here is evolutionary. This moment right here is the very seed that creates a world that works for all. And the law says yes. So I surrender it and let it be exactly what it is. Answered prayer, which means it's done, which means it's here, which means it is now. And so it is. Amen.
There's so much to appreciate, even when the world seems out of hand, even when we do not understand, still there's so much. There's so much, so much temptation to breathe. Let us take a moment, so much just to the end, and recognize there's so much. There's so much to be grateful for, even in the midst of loss and change. There's a chance that something new begins, and don't you want that so much? I know we need it so much. So much.
That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Reverend Raymond Anderson. Woo! Everybody's hands are like, very nice. I have taken so many notes. I appreciate so much everybody who came today, everybody who's online listening. I know we had such a great treat. Woo. So, as you know, it is time for us to discuss how we support CSL Leesburg and how CSL Leesburg turns around and supports our home organization, as well as quarterly, we give back to the community. And so we know that you give generously. I do appreciate that. As the spiritual director of the center, you have no idea how much I appreciate each and every one of us. So you know that there are many ways to give. Please choose a way. If you have not already chosen a way to donate, there are many options. The best way is possibly just go to cslleesburg.org and click the donate button where you can see many choices. No matter how you're choosing to give today, I would love for you to take your gift, whether it's the idea of your electronic gift or the physical thing you're about to put in the mail, and hold it against your heart and just repeat this affirmation with me. The presence of spirit within me blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to the day in which I live. And so it is. Just a few announcements. We do have Dream Study happening every other Saturday. We just had a Dream Study this last weekend, and it'll be back again a couple weeks from now. So please log in, join us. We get to try to figure out what our dreams are telling us, because as we know, it's a whole level of subconscious, instinctual sort of tap, tap, tap on your shoulder that we do try to tell ourselves while we're sleeping. So what better way to unfold them with our friends and discuss what these images and these messages may be. So we'll see you online. Just go to cslleesburg.org and click the Zoom button every other Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And in terms of the fall events, we've got a lot of stuff going on. I would love everybody who's in the community right now who is not an official member of CSL Leesburg to know that we want you to become an official member. What does it mean to be an official member? Please stick around next Sunday after service, and then we can just answer any questions you may have. But if you come kind of often, we'd love to embrace you as an official member of CSL Leesburg, because on October 29th, that is our new member Sunday, where we do the little ceremony. There may be a rose involved, I'm just saying, where we, the community, get to embrace you and your growth on your journey. It's all a wonderful thing. Come on back and join us for that. As well as we're going to have our Sunday lunch bunch on that Sunday as well. Anyway, in November, we're going to kick off our conscious giving program, and I'll have our treasurer talk to you about that another time, possibly next week. All right, that's all I have to say about that. Everyone, this was a wonderful gathering. Just know that please stick around on Zoom after, because we're going to let Reverend Raymont know all the ways in which little tidbits of what he said sparked huge forests of growth within our souls. This is where we share our pearls. So I'll go ahead and I'll turn on the ability for you guys to unmute yourselves, because Tamara and I both love it when we do the final closing affirmations. If you can unmute yourself, and then after me, you should say, I am love.
I am love.
Now look around and find somebody, something, or a picture, or point to the screen and tell them, you are love.
You are love.
Yes. Now put your hands up in the air, wave them like you just don't care, and say, it's all love.
It's all love.
Yes, it is all love. Have a blessed Sunday. Hang around for pearls. And if you have to go, I understand. And I'll see you very soon. Peace and blessings.